Hello everyone and welcome to the first official outdoor show. Feel free to like and share this and don't forget to subscribe. Coming up on this episode, we'll cover the global climate strike, the outdoor recreation economy of the US, the backlash to Trump's environmental policies, a new scientific study that concludes some interesting findings on fish, a rare species of bird that returns to England, the ban on animals in circuses, and of course the outdoor community update. So let's get started with the outdoor news. So starting off with the global climate strike. On the 27th of September, cities all across the world, people came out to protest for act against climate change and for something to be done. As you can see here, Patagonia and Birds closed its doors to kick off the global climate strike. Millions of people across the world are walking out of their workplaces, homes, compelled by 16-year-old Swedish climate activist Greta Thunberg, growing worldwide concern for the fate of the planet. The climate crisis is clear and the present danger to our health and our pocketbooks and our employees and our families. Patagonia CEO Rose Marcello wrote in the LinkedIn post, "Our customers are demanding we act. This generation of youth is not backing down, and neither should we." More than 5,000 strikes in 150 plus countries were scheduled, according to Thunberg. So this was all kicked off by Greta Thunberg, the 16-year-old Swedish climate change activist. Now let's see what those protests actually look like.
At this point, you've got no idea why we're striking. Then, what on earth? You must be utter idiots if you're wondering why we're striking. Look around you. Look at the climate charge. Look at the amount of CO2 in our atmosphere.
We are in Geneva, Italy, protesting against climate change because politicians today are not willing to do enough about it. So we're taking to the streets to fight for our futures and for those who are suffering from the consequences of climate change today.
So as you saw there, hundreds, thousands, millions of people around the world acting with passion and desperation to try and get their governments to act against climate change. Now I think we should look at the Greta's speech that was made at United Nations Climate Action Summit.
Greta, your first climate strike was a lonely event a little over a year ago. And in the intervening time, you have sparked the interest of millions, literally, of children around the globe, demanding action for climate change. What's your message to world leaders today?
My message is that we'll be watching you. This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet You all come to us young people for hope. How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words, and yet I'm one of the lucky ones. People are suffering, people are dying, entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you? For more than 30 years, the science has been crystal clear. How dare you continue to look away and come here saying that you're doing enough when the politics and solutions needed are still nowhere in sight? You say you hear us and that you understand the urgency. But no matter how sad and angry I am, I do not want to believe that. Because if you really understood the situation and still kept on failing to act, then you would be evil, and that I refuse to believe. The popular idea of cutting our emissions in half in 10 years only gives us a 50% chance of staying below 1.5 degrees and the risk of setting off irreversible chain reactions beyond human control. 50% may be acceptable to you, but those numbers do not include tipping points, most feedback loops, additional warming hidden by toxic air pollution, or the aspects of equity and climate justice. They also rely on my generation sucking hundreds of billions of tons of your CO2 out of the air with technologies that barely exist. So a 50% risk is simply not acceptable to us, we who have to live with the consequences. To have a 67% chance of staying below a 1.5 degrees of global temperature rise, the best odds given by the IPCC, the world had 420 gigatons of CO2 left to emit back on January 1st, 2018. Today, that figure is already down to less than 350 gigatons. How dare you pretend that this can be solved with just business as usual and some technical solutions? With today's emissions levels, that remaining CO2 budget will be entirely gone within less than 8.5 years. There will not be any solutions or plans presented in line with these figures here today, because these numbers are too uncomfortable and you are still not mature enough to tell it like it is. You are failing us, but the young people are starting to understand your betrayal. The eyes of all future generations are upon you. And if you choose to fail us, I say we will never forgive you. We will not let you get away with this. Right here, right now, is where we draw the line. The world is waking up, and change is coming whether you like it or not. Thank you.
Now we move on to something that sort of ties in with climate change and trying to make a difference, is at Peak Design and BioLite create a new climate neutral certification. So this is all for brands that you think that they're eco-friendly, but there's blurred lines between what is eco-friendly and what it's not. Officially launched on Monday, Climate Neutral is a non-profit program to help companies measure, reduce and offset their full carbon footprint. And come 2020, companies who achieve net zero are promised a climate neutral certified label for packaging, hang tags, websites and other marketing materials, like a certified organic sticker on a banana. I think this is really good. It'll, as it says there, it'll separate the wheat from the chaff, is the saying that they've used in this article. So look for that on clothing and other products soon. I find this quite interesting. Outdoor recreation is growing faster than the overall US economy, government reports find. The Bureau of Economic Analysis, the BEA, put outdoor recreation at 2.2% or $427.2 billion 2017, outweighing mining, utilities, farming, and chemical products manufacturing. The report reaffirmed the industry as an economic driver, following the first government report last year that counted it as 2.2%, 412 billion of the 2016 GDP. Outdoor recreation contributes to more than 778 billion in total US gross output, the total value of domestic goods and services produced by the industry, and supports 5.2 million jobs. Boating, fishing, RVing, motorcycling, ATVing, hunting, shooting, trapping, and equestrian sports are the 5 largest conventional outdoor recreational activities. Unsurprisingly, since vehicles have a larger price tag than camping gear, 6th in line is snow sports with 5.6 billion, the current dollar value added. The top 5 states where outdoor recreation amounts for the largest percentage of each state's total GDP are Hawaii, Montana, Maine, Vermont, and Wyoming. 4 of the 5 recently established state offices promoting outdoor recreation. Retail, trade, and manufacturing sectors of the outdoor recreational economy each amount to 95.7 billion, and the current dollar value added, and 51.7 billion respectively. Inflation adjust real GDP, the outdoor recreation economy grew by 3.9% in 2017, faster than the 2.4% growth of the overall US economy. So this goes to show that more people are taking on outdoor activities, getting out there and enjoying it. We've just got to look after it and maintain it and keep it going. So now we move on to something that sort of ties in with that, which is the backlash from Trump's environmental policies. So 17 states filed suit to stop Trump's administration's crippling of Endangered Species Act. 17 states on Wednesday sued the President Donald Trump's administration over the recent move to eviscerate the Endangered Species Act. As we face unprecedented threat of climate emergency, now is the time to strengthen our planet's biodiversity, not destroy it, said California Attorney General Xavier Becerra, who's leading the coalition. The only thing that I want to see extinct are the beastly policies that the Trump administration putting our ecosystems in critical danger. So this is quite an interesting one to follow to see what happens. I mean, we all know at the end of the day that Trump's a complete idiot. So moving on. New research shows fish exhibit symptoms such as hyperventilating and behavior changes. Basically, fish can feel pain in a similar way to humans, the new scientific study concludes. Fish feel pain in a similar way to humans experience it, according to leading scientists in aqua animal biology. A study led by Dr. Lynn Senden, an expert in animal biology, showed that fish can exhibit symptoms such as hyperventilating, long-term behavioural changes after a painful experience. Scientists reviewed 98 studies on fish pain to come to the conclusion that animals do feel pain in a comparable way to mammals. Pain in fish is a contentious issue, with some claiming that the animal's nervous system are not complex enough to perceive pain in a meaningful way. And subject to potentially painful event, fish show adverse changes in behaviour such as suspension of feeding, the reduced activity, which is prevented when pain-relieving drug is provided, Ms. Sinden said. She added, when the fish lips are given a painful stimulus, they rub the mouth against the side of the tank, much like we rub our toe when we stub it. If we accept fish experience pain, then this has important implications for how we treat. Ms. Sinden said that steps should be taken to make sure that fish are humanely caught and killed, and the animals should be handled with care to avoid damaging. Although painful experiences are unpleasant, the feeling is an important survival tool for teaching animals to avoid injury. So now moving on to something that I feel that sort of ties in with this article here, is that more than 130 dolphins die in mystery beach stranding. Now, this happened in a West African beach, and about 200 melon-headed whales, mid-sized dolphins, were found at the beach Cape Verde Islands. Official residents and tourists managed to drag some of the animals back out to sea, but many returned. Bulldozers buried 130 dead dolphins, local media reported. Shortly afterwards, off the US East Coast, about 26 pilot whales beached themselves on the island off Georgia, leaving 15 dead. It was the species' second mass stranding along the state's coast since July. Experts say factors that could contribute to mass strandings include sickness, navigational error, a rapid falling tide, being chased by a predator, and extreme weather. In the first 3 months of the year, more than 1,100 mutilated dolphins washed up in southwestern France. Experts said most of the deaths were caused by animals being captured by industrial-sized fishing nets. So a bit of good news now. White-tailed eagles returned to England after 240 years. White-tailed eagles have taken to English skies for the first time in 240 years, following the release of 6 eaglets on the Isle of Wight. So this is really good news for conservation and a bit of biodiversity as well. Let's just hope that the white-tailed eagles thrive and do well. So moving on now, we look at the global ban of animals used in circuses, which is long overdue, as we all know. Whoever really enjoyed animals in circuses anyway, just ruins a circus. This article was posted March the 11th, so at the start of the year, and it says, the UK government announced early in 2018 that wild animal circuses would be outlawed in England in 2020, but the ban is already long overdue, and animals suffering in circuses that tour the country, including camels and zebras, shouldn't have to endure the cruelty for even one more day. For most Brits, the state of affairs is sad and embarrassing. The government consultations have shown that there's overwhelming public support for the ban. 94% of the people in England, Wales, have said that they're in favour of one, and the vast majority of people in this country would never attend one of these sorry spectacles. One circus even reported to giving away tickets to its shows to avoid performing to its empty arena. After all, why would we pay to see miserable, confused and potentially dangerous wild animals trod a tired routine that they've been forced to learn through beatings and other abuse. So here's a list of all the countries that have introduced and implemented bans against using wild animals in circuses: Australia, Bolivia, Bosnia, Colombia, Costa Rica, Croatia, Cyprus, El Salvador, Estonia, Greece, Guatemala, Ireland, Israel, Italy, Luxembourg, Macedonia, Malta, Mexico, the Netherlands, Paraguay, Peru, Romania, Scotland, Singapore, Slovakia, Slovenia, and not forgetting England. So the ban comes into force in England in January 2020, which means wild animals will be no longer used in travelling circuses. Currently, only 2 circuses tour with wild animals in England, an act which will be illegal in 2020. So this is great news, as the article, and as we all think it's well overdue, and it's great that it's finally written a law for it. So that's it for the outdoor news. So let's move on to the outdoor community update. So the outdoor community is still growing quite quickly. We've had quite a few members join this month, and we're branching out to different outdoor pursuits now. We're seeing a good variety from a few more climbers have joined. We've got some fishermen involved, a lot more hikers, which is good to see, bird watching, just nature sounds. So if you like going to sleep with the sound of nature, we have that. People going on hiking, camping trips. We've got photographers. So the community is really coming together, which is nice to see. Still would like to see a bit more interaction between members, but once we hit 100 members, I'm going to throw in a bit of a social experiment to see how that goes, to try and create a bit more engagement between members in the group. Anyway, let's have a look and see who won the top post of last month. So the top post of the month goes to a chap called Rafi with his video entitled "Our Fragile Planet, the Only One We've Got." I recommend you go and find this video and give it a watch. I thought it was really good, really nicely put together, and it sort of ties in with everything we've been talking about in the outdoor news. So that's all we've got time for, folks. Hope you enjoyed this first official episode of the Outdoor Show. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.